Good Morning Express. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for choosing KTN News. You're right in time for press review. We'll take a look at some of the big stories making headlines in the local dailies. And as always, we'll begin with the Standard newspaper. But first, my panel this morning, today closer to me, I have Philip Magal. He is an advocate here in Kenya, Nairobi, as well as Honorable Charles Owino, Member of Parliament for Ndhiwa. On my far left, I have Honorable Joe Mtambu. He is the former Member of Parliament for Mwingi Central. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to have you with us here in studio. Before we can jump into all of this, let me just get an overall view, and you don't have to really go into details because we will discuss about it in from 7 to 7:30 about the drama that was at Parliament yesterday. Philip Magal, describe yesterday for you that entire scene.
I think the nation was treated to a circus, headed by, of course, the Speaker of Parliament. It was a sad day for me. It was a height of incompetence. It was a height of mediocrity on part of members of Parliament. I'm sorry to say that because I know one of them. I hope he was not among those who are watching from TV outside the House.
Honorable Owino?
No, I was not. I couldn't be outside. And, you know, as the first-time lawmaker, that was awful because we expected civility. We expected the leaders of the House, starting with the Speaker, to follow the standing orders. And we expected people to be honest. If the nays were the loudest, how can it be I again? So there was a lot of dishonesty, which I think should not exist in the House of Law, which became House of Chaos. And it all started because of the leadership. And of course, when there is no genuineness in leadership, people react, people protest. And that is what you also. And that's what is captured as drama.
Right.
But it was not a good day for all of us.
Honorable Mtambu, especially being a former lawmaker, what were your thoughts on what you saw yesterday happening?
To me, what I think happened yesterday was nothing. Nothing apart from, as usual, it was a bunch of people, and pardon my language, some to impress others. Some members were trying to impress the electorate, to show them we are with you. That's what they wanted to prove. They never did what was right? Because I don't expect a member of Parliament to go there and start shouting, and they have not done what is not right. Simple as that. What do I mean? They knew that they are going to discuss VAT, 8%. None of the members went in that chamber, including my friend here, with an amendment. So what were you shouting for?
Did it come as a surprise to you?
Because no, it was not a surprise because I knew it will happen.
Yes.
What happened yesterday, it was just the rubber stamping of some members. And I said it in another forum, that Kenyans should not expect this bill not to pass. Because if one, Baba has said, it will pass. If Kalonzo has said, it will pass. If Uhuru has said, it will pass. It is not the conscience of the members.
Right.
They will not vote with their conscience.
Right.
Period. So they were just trying to treat Kenyans with a drama to show them they are doing nothing. But behind the scene, there was nothing. Because if there was a serious member who was really serious about Kenyans, they could have gone there with amendment.
Honorable Owino, do you agree?
No, I don't. I don't. And
ask him whether he had an amendment.
I live to enjoy politics when we reach the democratic maturity in politics. The party leaders, he said, I think I pick your word, it's a hint. But members went to vote their conscience. And that is what really happened. We don't really have to make an amendment. That is not the only single way. Sometimes you shoot the whole thing down if it is unfair. And that is the way we felt, that it was unfair to the common man. You come to my constituency. Take, for example, a household in Ndhiwa.
Right.
That is the constituency I represent. Their mode of communication is border. Now, the price is double. Their ways of cooking is paraffin, kerosene. Now it's double. The lighting is kerosene, is double. Take for a shoemaker, the polish is going to go up. That is what it does. The painters, all these are petroleum added taxes going to cause chaos. So all what members did, they went to represent their constituencies. And they voted their constituencies.
But
I want my good friend here to understand my point.
Right.
If you shot that thing down, what would have it meant? What would have been the implication? We would have gone back to the 16. So it's better Uhuru coming up with 18.
No.
But then again, it was...
I understand what we are talking, and I'm glad we have a lawyer here.
Yes, but if you look at it critically, the 16 was much better. At least it affected one product.
Exactly.
Now this 8 affects so much more.
This 8 is totally, you know, monstrous in the way it will affect a Kenyan household. Look at it, airtime, salaries.
Even banking a check for fee. You have to
buying airtime.
Data.
Banking your money, putting your money into the bank, withdrawing it, transferring it. I mean, this is much, much worse than the 16%. And I support those members of parliament who shot that particular amendment down yesterday. And most glaring, of course, was that the standing orders were not adhered to. By voting nay, it doesn't mean that they voted, by lack of quorum.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they voted for the 6%.
All right, so gentlemen, I want us to hold our horses on this because we will go deeper into it during weekend review to sort of analyze it more. But there's something that you said, the fact that this is affecting the data usage in the mobile airtime and so forth. If you take a look at page 3 of the Standard newspaper this morning, Safaricom shares fell yesterday after taxes are set by about 70 billion Kenyan shillings worth of value as soon as the controversial finance bill was passed. Safaricom lost more than 70 billion in value. Of course, their stocks fell by about 6.6% by close of business yesterday to close at about 24 Kenyan shillings and 75 cents. We know airtime as well as M-Pesa, one of their mobile services, is a big contributor to their profit. So you can already see how this is affecting, even the private sector here in Kenya. Again, we'll go into details in that later on. But allow me to bring your attention to something else, which is on page 9 of the Standard newspaper this morning. It is the conversation around detectives having to raid former Nairobi Governor Kidero office and his Muthaiga home from around 2 a.m. to all the way to about 11:30 a.m. That story is what we paint a gruesome image over there, or rather we go into details of how that happened. The EFCC had yet to officially comment on the raid, and the officials saying that the detectives were looking for money and any documents touching on corruption cases of the ex-governor who is currently battling. Now, you also want to remember he was part of the management for Mumias, which is now under auction as the company as it is. Let me begin with you, Honorable Joe Mtambo. What are your thoughts on this?
On the issue of raiding Kidero's house, I would want to preserve my deepest comment, but on face value of it is that what we are reading or what we're being treated to, I think each Kenyan deserves rights to, their fundamental rights of freedom and fundamental rights. And when the police start investigating a case, and before you take it to court, you need or you ought to have a watertight case in the court. What we are reading from papers, because we are here to review the papers, is that Kidero is claiming that he was taken to court without any evidence, and the police are looking for evidence. So you cannot take somebody to court and then you are forced, when documents are required, then you seek an order to go and raid his home to seek for documents. For God's sake, Kidero is a wise man, and he would not keep those documents in the house. So I would want to, we expect decorum in any institution. So I expect police to do their work diligently. Before you take somebody to court, collect all the enough evidence. If you have any case against Mutambo, collect all the evidence which you think will nail me, and then take me to court. Not to take me to court to embarrass me. Then you start coming to look for evidence from my house.
Right.
I think so. I think it was, and I'm not defending Kidero, but I think it was unfair to Kidero. But police also should be allowed to do their work. But at this point, not after you take me to court. When you are now asked to bring or to produce any document or to substantiate your case, then you come running to me to look for the document from me. I think it is unfair. They could have done that before.
As an advocate, what do you read into this? Do you agree with what Mheshimiwa is saying?
From what I understand is that they did have a search warrant. And with that, of course, it means that the court considered the representations by the DPP and was of the opinion that there was reasonable ground to grant such an order. Of course, this is in the fight. You know, we have to look at it in the larger context, which is the fight against graft. Nairobi County did lose a lot of money, and we know that for a fact. Who stole it, we cannot tell. He's been brought before court. I don't know whether the ongoing investigations relate to the matter in court or do relate to new and upcoming issues that we are yet to see.
Although, Magal, even though someone does have a search warrant at 2:30 a.m.,
you know, it depends on how the search warrant has been drafted. If it gives you a blanket room to do whatever it is that you want, then it is up to you to make maximum use of it. Of course, Kidero has quite able advocates, and they should have been able to challenge it. The search warrant should be limited. It should state the time. And in this case, as per the Criminal Procedure Code, searches are supposed to be conducted during the course of the day, unless it's absolutely necessary to do it in the night. And, you know, you really, we're actually working with very much limited information. We wouldn't know why they were there at 2 a.m. We wouldn't know whether, you know, so it is hard to comment objectively as to what informed their decision to do whatever it is that they did.
Honorable Martin Owino, he is the ex-boss within Mumias, which is now up for auction. Is this the end of the sugar industry in Kenya, as we see it to be?
The sugar industry will not end with individuals, that's for sure. But I want to support what a colleague here said. You know, during colonial times, the home guards used to raid homes at 2 o'clock. I thought after independence we can do better. Before you take anybody to court, or even before you subpoena somebody, you must have a compelling evidence that can convict that person. This is what we expect our detectives to do, the DCI and also the EACC. You must investigate first, because going to somebody's place at 2 o'clock is not only traumatic to the person. How about the family? This collateral damage, why? We are not doing things in the 21st century. And I think we need to pull up our socks in investigations and also give people decency. Sometimes you can say, people of high standing like Kidero, we need you in the office. Come and write a statement. They will come because there are people on the higher class of the population. So I think we are still in the colonial mode, which we should get out from as quick as possible and act with decency, because you are innocent until proved guilty. And you deserve that kind of treatment.
Okay, let's take a look at, that's of course the Standard newspaper, so you need to grab a copy of your Standard newspaper, especially on this issue of the finance bill that was passed yesterday. We highlight it on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So grab a copy of that, as well as the pulse that is inside, since it is a Friday. But now let me bring your attention to the Daily Nation, and it's one story that's all the way behind. Kupet's huge about turn of a teacher's transfer, and that story is at the far end. In fact, on the Daily Nation at the back, Kupet differs with NAT on transfer. Now, we saw NAT that has been against the transfer of teachers, saying that it's breaking out of a lot of families. Kupet at first were against it, but now they're supporting it. Mind you, this is about a week or two, in 5 days actually, in advance before they are scheduled to meet next week for an entire conference. Magal, this is a conversation that we continue to have every single time of transfer of teachers. A lot of the excuse around it is because, one, teachers should be taken to counties where they can speak the local language. It also has its strengths as well. But number two, the issue of separating families, whether we like it or not, it is true, right? Just your conclusion on this matter, especially now that both parties, Kupet and NAT, will be meeting rather for a 5-day meeting next week.
I know most teachers would expect me to support them on this, but then my view a bit different. I believe every Kenyan should be able and willing to work in any part of the country. That is the only way we would foster cohesion. That is the only way a student in Mandera would have the benefit of getting the same education as a student in Nairobi. And again, you know, it's only when you look at things negatively that they affect you negatively. But then if you've been a teacher in, let's say, Turkana all your life, why wouldn't you want to move to Nyeri? It would expose you to...
What if I love it at Turkana?
Yes, it's because you are not willing or you're not open to change. Any employee in any institution signs up to that contract knowing that they would be willing to work under any condition in any part that particular institution operates. But then when you say that I'm a teacher and I cannot move, you know, to me it's a bit illogical. Because why would you want to deny your services to somebody somewhere else in the country? That is your first and foremost priority, offering teaching services to students wherever there is need.
Right. Honorable Joe Mutambo, your thoughts, because we have this conversation year in, year out. Can we have a permanent solution to our teachers?
I think we need to look at this issue in two dynamics. One, we need to understand teaching is like parenting. It's not like any other profession. And we need to give some little respect to the teachers. You know, I'm being an engineer and someone who understands the basics. Once a child bonds with a teacher and you separate them tomorrow, to bring another one, and you expect that child to bond with that teacher tomorrow, you are affecting not only the teacher but the child. We need to understand the fundamental role played by a teacher. I have some reservation for teachers. Other workers, yes. This is not a job where you are being told you are a driver, so you can drive in Nairobi, go and drive in Mandera. Here you are being told you can teach in Nairobi, go and teach in Mandera. One, you need to understand that this child, you are going to meet a child who maybe don't understand English and Swahili. And maybe you need to teach in the dialect or in the language this child understands. Right. And for you to blend with that child will take time. And the time you consume to blend with that child is wasteful to the child, not only the teacher. The teacher will get the salary. So if you look at the salary aspect of it, you are teaching, you're getting the salary, go to Mandera, go to Garissa, go to Mombasa, go to Kambani. I think there are some fundamental issues we need to address before we even just say blindly or without thinking twice, you are a teacher, you are employed, and you are getting salary, go there, go here, go. Those are the kind of things we need to look into. If we want to have our children our children to grow with the education they so deserve.
All right, Honorable.
So that's my opinion. So we need to look at it with the toothpick, not just blindly. That you are a teacher, you know how to teach, you go and teach. No.
Honorable Wino, being a first-time lawmaker, what solution would you give to this? And I'll let you have the last say because we need to go on a commercial break.
Yes. Now, somebody once said, before you solve a problem, you have to understand it. Initially, the schools had teachers' houses. They were well accommodated. You are transferred there, you move into the house, you are settled. Right now, there's no houses. You transfer a teacher, it will take 1-2 months before they can even settle. And if they're not settled, the productivity of that teacher is impaired.
Right.
So even the bonding, yes, but the productivity, settled mind as a teacher is when you can teach very well. So I think localizing them was one of the solutions so that you don't make this movement fast. Because the government, and paying them well. Initially, we used to have transfer allowances, hardship allowances. These have become debts. Teachers go for them like they owe somebody something. So, solution to this, either localize the teachers or adjust the accommodation issue, allowances that they need so that they can settle faster. In fact, the person who is going to lose out here is the child.
So it's not even a matter of them being transferred, it's making them comfortable and they're transferred easy,
so that
which
you can
then has that ripple effect.
Exactly.
All right, okay, so that's Press in Review for you. We've just looked at some of the stories making headlines in the local dailies. As earlier promised, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back, we'll dive into Week in Review. Here are top of our three stories that we'll be looking at. One, of course, that proposal that was passed yesterday. Number two, Bobi Wine finally returned to Uganda. We'll have a look at that and the Pumwani incident. All this and much more to come back after this short commercial break.